Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further funness, I don't know. Do you? Yeah? Here's the man with the plan to put gold in your hand, Tony Hammock.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everybody out there in Acts Media land. Hopefully you're someplace safe and you're home. We're having a golden morning here in Springfield. The sun's out, and see what I did there? But anyway, there's just been a lot of stuff that's happened since last week and stuff, so I've got a full show for you, although I regret to tell you that my guest that I was planning on having had to cancel, or maybe we call it reschedule and stuff, so we'll try to get her back on maybe as soon as next week, but I know she had a emergency come up with one of her sons, so hopefully that's okay and stuff. But I got to tell you, I want to start out with this because it's the biggest thing. I mean, would you call a miracle a big thing? I just, I was going to leave this for later on, and I thought, well, somebody may be tuning in, and I don't want them to tune out and miss this one because this one was amazing. But I've got a friend of mine up in Billings, Montana. In fact, she's been on the show as a guest speaker here a while back, Sharon. And so she was a minister for like 40 years, and she's like 74 now. And we probably talk weekly, and she's into gold and silver and things like that and stuff. So I had a business situation that was just keeping me up at night. It just wasn't going right. I don't want to get into the details at this moment because it's not completely over, but I called her Monday, and what's weird is I called her at 4:51 because once this happened, I went back and I started looking at the time, as far as when this all happened and stuff like that, but I called her at 4:51 Monday afternoon, and I said, Sharon, you know what? You're like a couple steps closer to God than I am, kind of teasing her and stuff. And she laughed, and I said, can you say a prayer for me? And she already knew about this one issue we've been working on and stuff. And she goes, well, let's just pray right now. And I was like, okay. So over the phone from Billings, Montana, she starts this prayer, and it was a good one. I mean, wow. She is good at the praying. And so she gets done, and, we both say amen, and I thank her and stuff like that, and I hang up. And we were on the phone for about 9 minutes and a few seconds. So 4:51 to 5, few seconds. And I kid you not, at 5:15, the person on the other side of this business situation, who hasn't called me in over a month, hasn't returned my calls, hasn't done anything that's necessary, calls me and has a solution. And, I ended up talking with that person for a few minutes and getting the details down and, all this kind of stuff. And I got off the phone, and it took me a minute, and I was like, whoa! Now that was a miracle. I mean, for that to have happened that soon. And, it'd be different if this other person was calling me all the time and stuff, but they hadn't been. They had broken communications, and that's why I'd been so stressed out. But we've now got it on the right track, and I called Sharon the next morning, and, she answered, and I didn't even, say who I was or anything like that. I just said, 15 minutes. She's like, what's 15 minutes? And I told her, I said, well, that's how long it took for the miracle to take place. Thank you very much for saying the prayer. And so she was thrilled, that it had an impact. But, I mean, that's kind of the stuff that we're getting to, I think. I don't know if anybody's gone to the store lately, but holy cow. I mean, it's like going into a battlefield, and I just think that, we kind of need to maybe step back and remember who we are and what we are and stuff, and I just think it's a great opportunity for a ministry. I think it's a great opportunity for a Christian. or a group of Christians. Now, maybe I got to do it on Zoom or Skype or something, but, I mean, I just think that there's a big opportunity here for basically a group of folks to get together and pray together and let God work his magic as far as helping us to find a solution and helping some of these people and stuff. And so one of the things I wanted to do, and then we'll get into the daily stuff that I do as far as a routine. And if you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, please don't take this as blasphemy or anything like this. I had a friend that sent me this yesterday, and it goes like this. This is the 12 steps of COVID-19. We admitted we were powerless over COVID-19, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. I know a few people from Hy-Vee that I bumped into on Saturday probably need to do that. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And last but not least, 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to humans and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And like I said, I hope I haven't offended anybody. That's not the intention here. The intention here is that, I think that if we could all practice those 12 steps, it would not only restore our sanity as we are supposed to stay home and socially distant and all these other things that are going on in our world, but it might actually, lead us to some solutions. Because, it's never going to be the same as it was, but, they're talking about lifting some of the things in different states and all that other stuff that's going on. I know you probably follow the news like I do, and some of the shenanigans that President Trump comes up with, and I saw late yesterday that he was going to cease funding the World Health Organization because he thought they had bungled this entire virus situation right from the get-go. And oh, by the way, I understand that he is making sure that his name are on all these checks that are going out. So anyway, he is our president. I'm not trying to belittle him. I'm just trying to acknowledge some of the things that I'm reading in the paper and the press and stuff. So speaking of reading things in the paper and the press, let's get into our stewardship program, because that, as you well know, is one of my favorite things. And I think we've got a good one today. I believe it's course 9. And after this, we'll have 10, 11, 12. We'll have 3 after this. But course 9 is understanding what God has given. God desires for us to know what he has freely given to us. One of the responsibilities of the Holy Spirit is to reveal his plans and purposes to us. They may be hidden for a time, but if we seek him with our whole heart, we can know what he has given to us. Maybe if we follow those 12 steps, we will be seeking him with our whole heart. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. John the Baptist understood this principle. When asked if he was the Messiah, he replied, "A man can receive only what is given from heaven." John understood his role in the kingdom of God. He came to pave the way for the Messiah. He was not the Messiah himself. His ministry on earth was very brief, yet Jesus described his life in this way. I tell you the truth, among those born of women there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist. Yet he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. Once we understand what God has given to us, we can walk freely in our calling. However, if we strive to walk in a role that he never gave us, it will result in frustration and failure. God wants to reveal his plan to us by his Spirit. This requires a willingness to seek and accept what he gives us. It may be different from what we thought. It may require adjustments to follow his path for our lives. As we learn from the life of John the Baptist, obedience requires death to our own wills. Ask God to reveal what he has freely given to you. Pray that you receive and embrace only those things he has reserved for you to receive and to accomplish in your life. Then you can be assured of a life full of meaning and purpose, and you can look forward to hearing those all-important words someday, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Wow. I hope that struck a chord with you like it did with me. And, we all know how John the Baptist lost his life, which, was quite an example of his faith. So that is today's stewardship lesson. And like I've said before, not to be redundant, hopefully you like those as much as I do. I know that, when Jim Wining and I got together and started talking about a new show, he wanted me to focus on gold and silver, God's money. And that's where I try to stay. But I also thought, if we're talking about money, let's talk about stewardship. And, what better way to do it than to have some classes that have lessons and stuff. We've already completed a couple of these. And as I said, after today's, we'll have 3 more and stuff. But anyway, there's just a lot going on out there. Hopefully everybody is okay and not going to Hy-Vee under the wrong circumstances. Maybe I shouldn't mention Hy-Vee. The grocery store. We're venturing out. We're diversifying our shopping. Anyway, well, there's just a lot going on as far as the markets go, and I haven't even looked at the phone yet as far as today's pricing. I did know as I came in that the stock market opened up down about 500 points. And, it was up 500 yesterday and down 500 today, and it's down about 20-some% since the beginning of the year. And, basically there's just a lot of volatility. There's a lot of uncertainty out there as far as where this has taken us. And anytime you have uncertainty, you're going to have volatility. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's fear and greed. We've talked about that on the show. And, then there's also profit taking. That's why you see some of these situations like with gold where, it'll go up, like it's run up quite a bit since we last spoke. And, excuse me, it will go up, and then you'll notice it'll take like 2 steps forward, and then it'll take a step back, kind of like what it's doing today. Let me take a look here. Oh, where are you? Oh, I was right there. There we go. Okay, so right now, for the day, now these are the futures. Gold is down $17.90, and it's hovering around $1,751. So it's down about 1%. But yesterday it was up quite a bit, and I got to tell you, it being over 1,700 and kind of having a support level around 1,740 is amazing. I mean, consider this. Last April, gold was like $1,200, and that's when I first started really trying to encourage people to get some money into gold for a lot of reasons. But one was the price was $1,200, and I could just see from all the stuff I follow that it was going to be going up. So gold, took 2 steps forward yesterday, and today it's kind of taken a step back. But the overall trend, let me see, if you're looking at me, the overall trend is going to be like this. And there's some people, I was reading one gentleman this morning, that is actually saying that gold is going to be up to 10,000. Now, you know, there's people I read that say gold may hit 25,000 an ounce, and then there's other people I read that say gold may go down to 400. You know, I mean, there's always opposite ends of the spectrum, and what I try to do is, you know, take each of those and maybe cut it in half, and then you find some of the people that are a little bit more in line with reality and so forth. Let me see. We do talk about Bitcoin from time to time. Bitcoin right now is $6,733.18 a coin. Ethereum is $156.75 a coin. And XRP is 18 cents. Bitcoin Cash is $220. And Litecoin is $40.44. And anymore, there's as many coins as there are, you know, minutes in the day. I mean, there's just a lot of coins that have come out and stuff. The bulk of the money in the cryptos is in those top 5. Really, probably the top 2 are, you know, over 90%, you know, because Bitcoin itself, last time I checked, was about 60%. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting to share with you. As far as the other financials that we like to get into on a weekly basis, let's get into as we speak. Now, this is the spot price, and you're going to notice about a $30 difference from the price I just mentioned, which is the futures price. And see, that's kind of what's happened here lately in the last couple of weeks. There's a disparity between the futures price and the spot price. There's 3 ways that you can own gold. You can own it as bullion, which is what I'm usually trying to encourage. You can own it through paper, you know, like an ETF or something like that. Or you can own it, you know, with futures. And so, you know, all 3 of those are ways to do it. And, you know, usually the futures and the bullion kind of are close. I mean, sometimes they're exactly the same, but I will tell you right now, here over the last couple of weeks, that sometimes there's as much as like a $60 disparity in the prices. Today it's more like 30 as we speak. So right now, as far as gold goes, this is as of $9. This is as of 9:19 this morning. The ask on gold is $17.20, and silver is $15.52. Now remember, or if this is your first time watching, these are precious metals, and these are priced by ounce. Platinum is $782 an ounce. Palladium is $2,254, and rhodium is $8,000 an ounce. Can you imagine? An ounce. That's not that big. But it is up $200 on the day. Now, these next metals are the base metals, and these are priced by pound. Steve is leaving the house. Have a good one. Drive careful. Copper is $2.28 a pound. Nickel is $5.29. Aluminum is 66 cents. Zinc is 86 cents. Lead is 75 cents. And then uranium, remember what I've been saying about uranium, it's creeping up there. It's up to $29.50. And there's a lot of folks that think uranium in the base metals is where the action is this year. Crude oil is $20.01. Can you believe that? I mean, you're now starting to see a little bit of that at the pumps, at least for the moment. You know, last week OPEC got together and they signed an agreement where they're going to cut production by, you know, millions of barrels a day. So it gets back to this supply and demand thing we've talked about so many times before. If the supply is going to be less and, you know, the demand, maybe as we pull out of this social distancing and everything, will increase, you know, you can count on gas at the pump going up. But for the moment, I mean, I think I looked yesterday afternoon, it was $1.45 a gallon at one of the stations we passed. I'm sure it's less somewhere in town. So crude oil, $20.02 a barrel. And so far today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is off 563 points. It's about a 2.35% decrease, and for the moment is at 23,387. NASDAQ's down 184 points, and the S&P is down 72 points. They're all three down over 2%, 2.35, 2.17, and 2.56 respectively. So, and one of the reasons why gold may be off just a few dollars is so far today, as of 9/21, the U.S. dollar is strengthening. And a lot of times when you see the dollar get stronger, gold will get a less value, and vice versa. When the dollar weakens, you'll see gold go up. And on and on and on. I mean, there's just a lot of statistics here. I will have it on after the radio show. There is one video that I'll put on my Facebook page, and remember, that's The Gold Affiliate. So if you're into Facebook, you can go and you can see some of the other articles I've posted here over the last couple months. I'm going to post this one later, but this is the one I was telling you about earlier that says gold price tracking could be $10,000 before we win World War III, says Frank Holmes. And it's a video interview. I mean, I guess you can read it because that'll come along with it and stuff. But Frank's a very respected person in the industry that is very much involved with gold and mining and things like that and stuff. So he gets interviewed quite a bit. And there are just all kinds of articles here that have been coming out lately. If I put every article I come across, I would have a Facebook page that would be incredibly long. I try to just put one up a day, just to show that I'm paying attention and stuff. But because before this, I wasn't much of a Facebook person. My wife loves Facebook, and a couple of the kids like Facebook, but older kids. But I try to get a post on there per day and stuff. Here's breaking news. This just in. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opened down more than 2%. Recession risks continue to rise after weak retail sales data soured investment sentiment. Gold is pushing off its lows. June gold futures last traded at $1,750 an ounce, down 1% on the day. So we just got a lot of stuff going on, folks, and the best I can tell you is to tune in every week, see what's going on. Pay attention, educate yourself. We've talked about that before, and make good decisions. Don't let your emotions make the decisions and stuff. I got one last thing I want to kind of read, and then we'll let Matt do his public service announcement and stuff. But, a couple of weeks ago, I read an article. It was an interview with James Stockdale. And so here's kind of like Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story. The big story over the last few days has been reopening the economy, and that's certainly a nice idea. Countless people have been living in despair over the last month, and the prospect of everything going back to normal soon feels really great. I certainly hope for the best. But a couple of weeks ago, I quoted James Stockdale, one of the toughest men who ever lived, talking about how he cultivated the mental strength to survive 7 torturous years as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. And I thought it would be relevant to repost his advice here. When asked who didn't make it out of the POW camp, Stockdale replied, "Oh, that's easy, the optimists. They were the ones who said, we're going to be out by Christmas, and then Christmas would come and Christmas would go. And then they'd say, we're going to be out by Easter, and then Easter would come and Easter would go. And then Thanksgiving, and then it would be Christmas again. And they died of a broken heart. This is a very important lesson," Stockdale continued. "You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be." Okay? There's clearly been a lot of positive data lately showing that the growth rate of the virus seems to be slowing, and that mortality rate is lower than originally estimated. This is all good news. But we're seeing a lot of Stockdale optimists right now who only look at the good news and refuse to confront brutal facts. Many of the world's most prominent financial markets have been bitten by Stockdale optimism. Stocks, for example, are way up because investors believe everything is about to return to normal, and the economy will experience a V-shaped recovery. This means that the economy will bounce back as quickly and aggressively as it stalled. So, V would be like, here's January at 29,000, goes down to, I think it got as low as 18,000, and then quickly goes back up to 29,000. But anyone with the discipline and emotional courage to confront the most brutal facts of our current reality realizes that normal is still far away. Here are a few things to consider. 1. Hardcore PTSD. We're now living in a world where hugging is considered an act of biological terrorism. It would be silly to think that everyone will come out of hiding and go back to normal. Packing bars, airplanes, shopping malls, elevators, offices, etc., like we used to do. There's going to be some serious worldwide post-traumatic stress disorder. Millions of people will permanently change their behavior, reduce consumption, stay home, and avoid contact with others. And this is clearly going to have a lingering economic impact. This morning I read a story about a lady over in England, Berkshire, someplace like that. I can't remember. But apparently she was in the store yesterday, and one of the store employees was standing in the aisle talking to somebody, and she thought he had invaded her personal space, and she got violent. And after about 2 minutes, the people were pulling her off of him. And, of course, I'm pretty sure she was taken away by authorities. But, a lot of folks are resorting to that kind of behavior. And that's why I wanted to kind of start with my miracle I shared with you and then talk about, the 12 steps and stuff. Because I just really think this is an opportunity for us. Number 2, RIP small business. Rest in peace, small business. Countless small businesses temporarily closed last month. Many of them will never reopen. Others have had to make deep cuts and lay off a number of employees in order to survive. But even when economic conditions finally start to normalize, many small business owners will realize, gee, I didn't actually need some of those workers. They'll do the math and determine that the business can be more profitable and efficient without all the employees, and some of those temporary job cuts will become permanent. 3. Big business downsizing. Ditto for big businesses. A typical medium-sized or large company can lay off at least 10% of its workforce with minimal impact to operations. Nearly everyone has fat to trim. And so a lot of big companies who have laid off their workers will not hire everyone back. Moreover, big companies now have an opportunity to shrink their overhead further by reducing their office footprints. Executives now realize that many employees can work from home, and frankly, many employees prefer it. This will likely reduce demand for office space, causing a steady increase in commercial property vacancy rates. Even Disney's chairman Bob Iger recently said his company will reopen with less office space. 4. Retail was dying before this started. Let's be honest, retail stores were already dying before the pandemic. The entire industry is being swallowed up by Amazon. A number of major retail chains, Sears, Macy's, Pier 1 Imports, etc., filed for bankruptcy well before the pandemic started. Plenty of others were on the ropes, and now, with so many places on lockdown, many of them simply will not survive. Between the continued rise of e-commerce, the lockdown consequences, and the lingering PTSD that could keep millions of people from visiting stores, physical retail is in pretty serious trouble. Retail makes up roughly 10% of the workforce in the U.S., so it's not hard to imagine a few million job losses just from this one sector, not to mention the impact to real estate market of so many shops and malls going under. 5. Additional outbreaks. While the social distancing and lockdown measures have reduced the rate of contagion, it's important to remember that some places, like Hong Kong and Singapore, already experienced a second wave of outbreaks after they loosened their restrictions. Yet the V-shaped recovery fantasy completely ignores this very real possibility and the huge economic consequences it would have. In fact, any of the 5 points I've mentioned above could start a nasty impact to the unemployment rate, financial markets, GDP, real estate prices, corporate earnings, government deficits, etc. But they'll all be ignored. The prevailing narrative right now is that we're out of the woods and the economy is about to come roaring back. And that would certainly be nice. Staying positive is great, but like Stockdale said, we know that we will prevail in the end. But it's important to be realistic, to confront the most brutal facts of our reality. And our reality is that the consequences of this pandemic could last much longer than many people are choosing to believe. To Your Freedom, and that is a gentleman that I love to follow. His name is Simon Black, and he has a newsletter out called The Sovereign Man. And so I want to give credit where credit is due, because he is very, very good at what he does. And so let's remember Stockdale and some of his suggestions, because, you know, it is very easy to get caught up in the euphoria of people that are talking about the V-shaped economy and some of the other things that were in that article. And, you know, my wife and I were talking about it just the other day, that, you know, they really need to have a vaccine or something, you know, and they need to have more test kits, before they loosen anything up, because they need to be able to test real quick, and then if there is an issue, have some kind of a solution. And with that said, Matt has re-entered the studio.
Sorry about that.
You want to do your...
Yeah, sure. Let me find my camera part here. All right.
Matt Pearson, folks.
So, hey, everybody. I'm sitting. They can see you now, too. Hey, today I'm just wanting to remind you guys that we want to partner with you to grow and expand our programming, and also our ability to help others to do the right thing and to serve where needed. So you can go online to axmediagroup.com. Check out what we've got going on there. There's a long list of things that we do, things we're involved with, and the programs that we have in regards to, the veterans programs, autism awareness programs, and we also have there's so much stuff on there. We have the Real News Review, which is an online newspaper. You can read articles put out by Dr. James R. Wining, Dr. Elizabeth Jane Campbell, or just we'll say Jane Campbell. And then you can see what we're doing. You can also see past shows as well, past shows of Tony Hammock here, past shows of my show. You can just see everything there, and on the right-hand side of the page, while you're scrolling down and looking through all the cool stuff, you can see the Donate Now button. You can go on there. You could donate at least, you can make a one-time donation, or you could become a monthly partner with us. So if everybody that watches our shows and pays attention to what we do donates just $1, that would cover so much and help us so much. So you could do as low as $1 or as high as you want as far as to donate. You could also do it monthly, where it will come out at the same time every month, the same amount or whatever amount that you choose. So check it out and partner up with us today. Back to you, Tony.
Thank you, Matt. All good information. And what I thought I would do is just real quick. We talk about gold being $1,740 an ounce, and I know that's a lot of money. That's $1,740. And, some people I deal with can buy hundreds of ounces at a time, and others can't afford 1 ounce. And I've just, over the years, have kind of learned to try and make it as accessible as possible. So if you were on last week, you saw me holding up my newest gold coin. This is an MS-70 gold coin. And this is 1/10 of an ounce. Now look how small that is. I don't know. Is that on the screen, Matt? You think they can?
Let me see it. I can put it on mine. Of course, I'm going to charge you 1 gold coin for doing this.
Well, what I was getting ready to say is if that's 1/10 of 1 ounce, and gold is at $1,740, then you've got to figure that that's at least $174. Before we start talking about the premium for the coin it's molded into and other things. So not a bad way to carry some dollars. It's very efficient. If I had that in my pocket, I'd be very careful because it's kind of small. It's about the size of a dime.
That's why you keep it in the carrying case.
I do. But my point is that, that was not an ounce of gold. So somebody that wants to get into gold and silver can definitely do it in smaller amounts. You know, I have one or two companies I deal with that deal in grams. And here's my most recent silver coin. It's redundant on one I got earlier, but it is a 2017 Australia Kangaroo MS70. And on the front, it's got the kangaroo. On the back, it's got Queen Elizabeth, I believe it is.
Silver?
That's silver. That's 1 ounce of silver. So in today's market, you know, it's at least, what was it, $15.56. And then, of course, there's a premium for the
But it
fact
could be worth more by the end of the day.
it could be. But this is MS70, so it's perfect, and it's a coin. So there's usually a premium over spot for things like this. I would say this probably is going for, I don't know, $20, $22, $23 probably, when spot is at 15. So just more than anything, just kind of an example of there are ways to get into gold and silver and not have to wait until you can afford an entire ounce. And if you need information on those, you know, give me a shout or an email. My phone number is 417-755-0700. Or my email is tony@thegoldaffiliate.com. I am going to be doing a Zoom tomorrow. If I had realized it, I would have given the Zoom address. I guess I could try and do that. But let's do these things that I did have planned.
And what was your, I'm going to put your phone number up here.
417-755-0700. And if you'd like to tune in to the Zoom on tomorrow, it's at noon. I guess give me a shout or an email, and I'll send you the invite. You know, it's not like some people don't have enough Zooms going on as it is, but I'm on so many anymore that I've gotten kind of familiar with the Zoom software and feel pretty comfortable with it and everything. A couple quick things just so you don't forget. You know, I kind of feel at this point my practice is evolving into more of a risk management type program, because, you know, we're talking about gold and silver being wealth insurance. You know, we've talked about life insurance before and health insurance and things like that. And along with those, you know, I have different products that have interest rates. So, for example, right now through one of my companies I work with, if somebody has $15,000 or more, there's a 7-year annuity that would pay 2.15. There's a 5-year that's 185, and there's a 3-year that's 115. If you have a little bit more and have over 50,000, the 7-year is 2.65, the 5-year is 2.35, and the 3-year is 1.75. And for those that have over 100,000, the 7-year is 3.05, the 5-year is 3% even, and the 3-year is 2.5. And you know, these are issue ages are 15 days to 90 years. You got a choice of 3, 5, or 7-year terms. There is a market value adjustment, and the full account value of the death benefit for beneficiaries, fully tax-deferred growth, protection of principal with 0 market risk, and competitive guaranteed fixed interest rates. And so if you want more information on that, you know, let me know. I will tell you that my list of insurance companies that are willing to do non-med policies is growing by the day. You know, just for example, here's a list of a couple that I'm aware of. American National, which you guys know is one of my favorites, Lincoln Financial, North American, Protective Life, Prudential, SBLA, and Transamerica, just to name a few. And my list is actually probably up to like 24, where you know, what they're willing to do is either have a guaranteed issue or a simplified issue. These folks would probably be more simplified issue, and they have non-med guidelines, which just simply means if you're in need of some life insurance, you know, or something like that, that might be something to consider. And that way you don't have to go get a paramed. You don't have to have a paramed come to your house and take that risk and so forth. Speaking of American National, Their rates for April are kind of interesting. They're high in their multi-year guarantee annuities. Their highest first-year rate is the 4.10 rate. That's on the 9-year one. They have a 5, a 6, a 7, 8, 9, and 10-year terms. And the 9-year one over 100,000 is 4.1. Under 100,000 is 4 even. And then the way they price these, the first-year rate is kind of an enticement to come in, and then they have a base rate. So, for example, on that first one at 4.10 the first year, the base rate is 2.10. So your effective yield is 2.32. And then the other one at 4%, the effective rate is 2%, and then your effective yield is 2.22. So we don't want to mislead anybody, but in some cases, 2.22 or 2.32 is still pretty darn good, especially tax deferred. Their highest effective yield is, well, their 6-year over 100,000 is 2.35, and the less than 100,000 is 2.25. And then the same on the 10-year. So the 6-year and the 10-year have the highest effective yields. And they are an excellent company. Obviously, they've got a huge office here in Springfield, which I assume most people are now working from their homes, like just about everybody else I know. So, those are some interest rates I thought you would find of interest. Anyway, let me take a sip here real quick. Something I started last week, and I do want to kind of finish up with this. So I guess if you're not interested, you can tune out, but I would plead with you not to. Because if you know somebody, it may not be you, but it may be somebody you know that could benefit from one of these 16 different things. You know, it'd be neat to pass it on to them. First off, one of my companies I work with, even before the pandemic, I mean, you know, we're talking, I think they've got 6 or 7 years of work into this platform. And because the founder he wanted to have something that was just super, super easy for people to get the coverage they needed and stuff. And so it had just kind of come live right before the pandemic started. But what I'm talking about is a program called Insure Me Now Direct. And the website that you can go to is insuremenowdirect.com/agent/Tony. And that will get you to my site. You'll know it's my site because you will see my name and phone number. And I think if you actually get more information, the second page has my picture. So don't let that scare you. But anyway, the reason why I like to cover this one is that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's 12 different forms of coverage on here that you can get from the comfort of your couch. And, you know, with as fast as some things are happening anymore in our world, you know, that might be a godsend. I mean, you know, you can get life insurance, for example. One of the carriers on this will go up to $500,000 of life insurance. And, you know, that's just incredible. I mean, I think we've got 3 different life insurance companies now involved, and one's a guaranteed issue. So the maximum it will do is $25,000. We've got 2 others that will go. One will go up to $150,000, and then this most recent one we added is $500,000, and it's backed by an A+ company. So you know, we're really excited to add that one. There's critical illness. You know, I mean, somebody becomes critically ill, and of course they're kind of on the radar screen now. They can get coverage for that. And the best thing to do is have the coverage before you encounter, you know, whatever it is you're trying to insure against. So there's a slight sense of urgency here if you see some of these things in your future. And disability income. You know, I mean, so many folks are out of work now, and, you know, I just feel awful if I hadn't mentioned this to some of my friends and clients and so forth. But there is insurance out there that can insure your income. And, there's people that have used this and have actually had to fall back on it and stuff. Accident insurance. There's actually insurance that is for in case you get in a car accident or you fall off the ladder or whatever you would classify as an accident, and they will provide a lump sum. And, I've known a lot of people that couldn't get life insurance because they were uninsurable, for whatever reason and stuff, but they got accident insurance, and that's what, provided for their family when the accident did occur. We're never planning on the accident. We're not sitting there thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm going to, drive in the ditch and turn my car over. But sometimes these things happen at the blink of an eye, and your life is over or it's changed drastically. Senior insurance. So we've talked about that a little bit over the airwaves here. Once you become a senior, there may be a need for some, Medicare supplements and other things, dental and vision and long-term care and, all those kinds of things and stuff. So there's products like those on here. And there's actually packages, which means you could fill out, let's say you needed 3 of these. And you were thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to fill out, 3 applications. That's just ridiculous. I don't have the time. And, you go to this and you fill out 1 app and it works for all 3. So it is a little bit of a time saver as far as trying to make this really fast. Now, legacy protection, that is one of my favorites because a lot of people aren't aware of it. They don't have this. In fact, from what I understand, this outfit may be the only one out there that offers this. But there is a company that has basically a vault in the sky, and it's encrypted, and they have the best encryption known to man. And what you can do if you go for this one is you can upload all of your policies, all of your important papers, just anything that's of value to you. You can have instructions in there, and you can load up to 6 beneficiaries so that, let's say, you've got 6 beneficiaries located in 6 different parts of the world, and, God forbid, but something happens to you. Your instructions in there, are such that they have an algorithm that goes around, and I guess they scan obituaries or something. I don't know how they do it. It's magic. But what they do is if you should pass, it gets word to the 6 people you've listed that they need to, contact your trustee or the attorney you worked with for your will or trust, whatever it may be. So I just think that's incredible. And it's got some other uses that I'm just, kind of going blank on here, but it's a very powerful tool, and it's not that expensive. I think it's maybe like, $100 a year. So you're looking at, $8.33 a month to have that kind of peace of mind, to have all your important documents and policies are in one place. Next, dental and vision. And I can't tell you how many times, especially with elderly folks, I have come across people that have not had dental and vision. I think last week I might have said something, my parents, before Mom passed in 12, and then Dad, ended up at the Veterans Home, which is where he's now at. And a big shout out to Missouri Veterans Home, by the way. They came up with a way where we can actually see them in person now. There for weeks, we weren't able to go visit. And last week they got a hold of me, and me and my 2 younger sons were able to go to Mount Vernon last Friday, and we're going to get to do it 2 days from now. And they wheeled Dad to a window, and we were outside the window so we could see him, and other people could see their loved ones and stuff. And then one of the nurses had her phone, so we were literally talking as we were looking at each other. I know that sounds crazy, but it kept him safe, it kept us safe, and it worked because we got a chance to visit and stuff. Excuse me. Okay. So dental and vision, what I started was getting ready to go to, and I got off in the weeds, is that, it wasn't uncommon for them to go to the dentist, and they'd be $1,200 or $1,500 for, something. And I know one time my mom went and had 2 teeth pulled, and it was $1,200, which just sounds outrageous to me. So dental and vision insurance is very, very important. Scholarship discounts. Here again, this may be one of the only outfits I know that offers this. There is a company that works with folks to allow you to gain rewards points for premiums you pay on insurance policies and annuities and all these products we've just mentioned. And if you're involved with this scholarship program, you can get up to 25% of your child, grandchild, niece, nephew, it works for extended families, scholarship taken care of. And right now there's over 400 colleges involved with this. And some are ones you've heard of before. I mean, I will admit there's a couple in there because the majority of them are smaller private schools. There's a few that I hadn't heard of. My wife knew them because she's more into that from her background and stuff. But I will tell you that there's some excellent colleges on this list of 400. And if you could cut 25% of the tuition off by taking advantage of this, it would be a wonderful thing. There's also a way to get children's whole life. And I know that's sometimes people don't think kids need to be insured, but we can get into that as far as that's probably when they're most insurable is when they're younger. And then there's a couple of these policies that have guaranteed acceptance, which is huge for some folks that maybe aren't in the best of health. And then last, they do have a program for identity theft and things like that, which, with more of us being online and doing a lot more from home, either for work or just, keeping up with different things, the news, social media and stuff, there's just a lot more people out there trying to take advantage of us. So anyway, once again, insuremenow.com/agent/Tony. And if you have any questions, 417-755-0700. Matt gave me a sign a few minutes ago. I think we're just about out of time.
We are out of time.
We're out of time.
We're out of time.
Okay. Well, hey, may your day have a silver lining. And I will look
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back, and may the sun shine warm upon your face.
There you go. I hope to see you next week.
Soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of His hand.
There we go. Thank you so much.
That was awkward, wasn't it, Tony?
No, I liked it. That was good.
All right, bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.